Systems awareness, more of those skills for the A+ lady leader in my Excellence in Leadership series. Hey, my dear, I am leadership development coach Kathy Archer, and I am redoing yesterday's Facebook Live session because somehow it got deleted. So we are back again today, and I am walking through the skills you need to be an A+ lady leader. Today we're talking about systems awareness. And so if you are on here, you're likely a lady leader. And before we get going, I'm going to share this into my Confident Women Leaders group, because if you are a lady in a leadership position, sometimes is that you struggle a little bit with feeling isolated and alone and feeling like you could use some other women who could support you. Give you some feedback, tips, mentoring. Maybe you've got something to offer other women. That's what the Confident Women Leaders group is. It's a private group that I have, and I pop these lives into that group every week, so to make sure that those ladies, you probably are one of them if you're watching right now, are getting to see this. So give me a second as I share this into my group. 2 seconds. I try not to multitask too terribly much as I talk to you out of the side of my face. All right, sharing, and shutting off the internet on my other computer so that we have better internet, because hopefully if that was the issue yesterday, we've kind of got it rectified. So I am a leadership development coach. I am Kathy Archer, and I am here because I think that it's important for as women leaders to grow and develop. And if you're online, give me a shout, say hello, tell me who you are so that I know who's following me. But I know that as most of us, we spend our days running around chasing fires, trying to sort of solve everybody else's problems, but we never actually get to those things that really matter to us, the meaningful work that we want to do, the impact we want to have on our staff, on our team, or our community. Those things that we kind of got pulled into the work for get put to the wayside because we're running around dealing with everything on our to-do list, running to meetings, sending emails, all that kind of stuff. We never get to the work we do. I give you both the inner and outer tools to turn that around so you can move from survival to thriving in both leadership and life. And today we're talking about some of those inner tools. I have lots of notes, so you'll see me flip through my notes. Hopefully it won't be too distracting, but I want to make sure that I'm on track. And there's lots of information here, lots of stuff to share with you. So I want to make sure that I'm giving that to you, but I want to make sure that I'm getting it right. But we're talking about those skills that women leaders need to have to sort of excel, to be efficient, but even more than efficient, to, like I say, really make a difference in what they do, feel good about it, go home at the end of the day, feel good about what they do. If you've been following me, you know that I'm talking about the difference between management and leadership, and what we're moving into is more of the leadership skills. Management is the skills you need to sort of keep the boat from tipping over from side to side. It's keeping things stable, making sure that things don't fall apart in your team or organization. You need those skills. You do that stuff all of the time, but you also need the leadership skills. The leadership skills are what's going to take your boat from where it is today to where you see that future to be moving forward. If we just kind of stay where we are and never actually move, well, maybe your boat's not going to tip, but it's not going to be very exciting. You're not going to get very far. And so we need both leadership and management skills. And so what I've suggested you do is start to focus on those management skills, those leadership skills. Start to look at what do you need to grow inside of yourself, because many of these things are things that kind of come from inside. They're also things that we're not generally taught as we've moved up along the way. Most of you, me included, when I was in sort of the organizations I was in, we moved from that frontline position into a supervisor, a manager, a coordinator, a team leader, whatever it is, without a lot of the training to go along with it. And as we move up, we were good at what we did, the frontline work, the day-to-day job. And as we move up, we're like, oh, this is a whole different ball of wax, and nobody's told me how to do all of this stuff. And so that's your responsibility to sort of start to figure out, what is it that I need to learn to do? How do I need to do that? And then create a plan to do just that. What are the skills that I want to develop in myself that's going to allow me, support me in having that impact I want to have? And you need to look at that. You need to step back and look at that. So I talked last week about achieving results. And again, I'm grabbing my notes here. Decisiveness is one of those ones. Achieving results, purposeful and visionary, strategic focus. That if you want to have the most impact as a lady, that you need to take a look at what are the results I want to achieve. It's great if you're nice and sweet and kind, but if you never actually get results, if you just worry about keeping that boat from tipping over and never actually moving forward and achieving anything, you're never going to make the difference you can make or should be making, or that the meaning that you have in the work you do to that bigger community. That's about achieving results. So that's the first set. Now that comes, sorry, before I get into there, make sure that if you haven't watched that video, you go back. They're all on Facebook Live. If you go to my website, silverrivercoaching.com/blog, you will see the latest blog that talks all about achieving results. As well, with all of these Facebook Lives, there's a guide that goes with that, so a little worksheet that helps you look at, are you achieving results? Maybe what could you be doing a little bit differently to achieve more results? silverrivercoaching.com/guides. That will get you to last week's guide as well as today's guide. They're always there in every Facebook Live I do. But part of the reason I wanted to look at this again is what I said. We need to be developing ourselves. We cannot wait. That's that victim mentality that I've been talking about. We can't wait for somebody to say, hey, go on this leadership training, or you need to develop these skills, or you need to be better at this. Because what they're going to tell you in your performance appraisal, if you've been fortunate enough to have one, is maybe 2 or 3 little things that are probably more management things, or maybe even organizational things. But those things that come from deep inside of you that help you to be that best leader are often things that are missed, not intentionally in organizations, but they just aren't typically the focus that we give them. And so when I work with women in my Women with Grit program, part of what we do is we start with the Leadership Circle profile, which is a tool that's a 360. You get feedback from all of the people you're connected with, your subordinates, your peers, your colleagues inside and outside of your organization, your boss's boss, your board. We get to look at that, and we get to look at, how do you show up? What's the impact you're having on other people? Is it the impact you want to have? Is there a different way to have the impact that you want to have? What's the legacy you're leaving? Are you getting there, right? And so I thought that for me to help you look at what are the leadership skills that you need to develop so that you can be your most successful, most happiest, most impactful leader, to look at the leadership skills that the Leadership Circle talks about. And I just want to point out, this comes from a book, Mastering Leadership. Bob Anderson is the guy who developed the tool that I use, the Leadership Circle profile. And so if you're interested in that, message me and I'll send you a link to that. But again, I think this is just really good information to look at, because again, we don't always look at the skills we need. So again, last week looked at achieving results. Today we're talking about systems awareness. And as I find my notes for that, what I want to remind you of is a couple things. One, if this is at all helpful to you, this information that I'm talking about today, please share it with the ladies you are connected with. Please share it with your colleagues, your friends. I think for far too long, us women have kind of done what we do in parenting and rest of life, just, buckle down and try and do it on our own. And we need to support each other. We need to grow each other. We need to develop each other, and we need to be there for each other. That's part of why I have that Confident Women Leaders group, because I think we do need to do this better. We do need to get better at both reaching out for help and offering help. So if what you're learning in today's video or any of my information is helpful, please share it so that other women can get it too. And then a reminder, if you want to get the guide sheet for today, it's at silverrivercoaching.com/guides. And you'll get the guide sheet for today. And if you want to know more about the Women with Grit program, which will open up in September, womenwithgrit.com will get you there. That's kind of the links I need to share with you. So one of the skills that you need to have as an efficient lady leader is having that focus on achieving results. One of the other skills that's going to help you get there is a systems awareness. A systems awareness is that big picture thinking. It is stepping back. Sorry, I shouldn't be moving notes because you're probably hearing it on the microphone. 2 seconds while I get my cue cards ready because I want to make sure that I'm not missing some of this stuff. Back to the systems awareness. So, big picture view. Systems awareness is about stepping back, lifting our head up, and having this bigger picture view. It's about seeing things from that wider perspective, but not just wider, but also longer. So, you know, if you have this sort of little narrow road or path that goes from here to where it is you're going, imagine widening that path and seeing, you know, a bigger perspective. I often think of when we're on the highway and the road crews have come along and cleared, you know, the big ditches and the paths in the ditches. For me, where I live, we have lots of trees, so they've cleared the trees back. So I can see things. I can see the wildlife that might be jumping out onto the highway. I have a better view of everything broad around me. But I'm talking broad and long-term, both. So systems awareness is having that broad perspective and that long-term perspective. Systems awareness is also looking at the community you serve. I think far too often we get so busy and so stressed and so head-down focused that we forget there are people behind the numbers. There are families, there are customers, there are clients behind the staff meetings and the forums and the meetings that we're having. And we need to connect with those. We need to be better connected to those kind of things that we're looking for. Sorry, I'm just noticing the video is really wonky. I hope you guys are this. I really wish someday that my community would get better internet because that will help me serve you guys better. It's frustrating to know that what you're watching isn't perfect, or not even perfect. It's that it's difficult for you to watch, and that frustrates me. So if you're noticing that, I'm apologizing right now. I'm going to persist because, like I said, yesterday I lost my video, and so I hope that you are persisting with me and watching and just, you know, breathing through the screen, making funny images of my face, and we're just going to move forward. Okay, so systems awareness, big picture, concern for community, the global community, the bigger community, the, you know, not just kind of the client in front of your face, but that bigger picture of who you're serving. And again, long term, I want you to think about what's the legacy you're leaving for future generations. If your program, if you in your program have a lasting impact, what is that lasting impact? What's the impact that you have on future generations? 2 seconds, I gotta blow my nose. If you were on yesterday, you know that I am recovering or still dealing with a cold, and so struggling a little bit with that stuffy nose syndrome today. Okay. We'll get through this, I promise. Where are many of us? So if we're not systems thinker, where are many of us? I'm going to read this list to you because I think it kind of nails where many of us are. Many of us are narrow and short-term focused. We're reacting. We're putting out fires. We're looking for the quick fixes. We're looking for Band-Aid solutions. And we're solving whatever problem pops up. Instead of that head down, narrow focus, only dealing with what's in front of our face, systems awareness is that big picture, wide, broad perspective, long-term, looking at the community as a whole. It requires you to step back from that urgency to deal with every single crisis. It requires you to lift up, pull back, get that bigger picture, rather than just putting out every fire in front of you. I thought of it when I was preparing for this session around, it's kind of like the baby's on the ground, gets a sliver in its foot, you pick up the baby, get the sliver out of its foot, and then you plunk that baby right back down on all of that old wood. Doesn't solve the problem at all, does it? Doesn't make a difference. But that's what many of us are doing. We're like taking slivers out left and right, but we're never dealing with the fact that the ground is covered with things that are giving us slivers. Or if you're in a boat and it's got a leak and you're bailing the water out, you're bailing the water out with this little yogurt container, but you've never fixed the leak. That's what we do in organizations all the time. We spend all our time running around, chasing fires, band-aiding this, quick fix over here, quick, problem solving over there, but we never step back and look at the bigger picture. And that's what systems awareness is all about. So 3 things about systems awareness, 3 skills that you need to develop. The first one is community concern. So the community is again, that bigger group of people that you're serving. And I want you to think about, what am I contributing to the bigger community? Or what is my organization contributing to the bigger community? Think about, what do you care about? What has meaning to you? What's the purpose behind your organization? What's kind of your, makes your heart sing or pulls on your heartstrings, right? Why is it you're connected to that organization? It is not, community concern is not about being self-centered, failing to talk about the purpose in your work. I think lots of times we have staff meetings, or we get on the phone with somebody, or we go through our emails, and we're just basically ticking off to-dos. You know, did that, finished that, had that conversation, ran that meeting, and we forget that behind all of this work, there's a deeper purpose of why we're doing the work. And we need to have those conversations. We need to talk about those kinds of things sometimes. We need to bring that emotion into the space. We need to remember and connect to what's important to us. We try to, I spent many, many years in family support work, in working with children and families and adolescents who were affected, or connected to the child protection system, lots of them affected by fetal alcohol syndrome. And there's a lot of hard stuff that comes with that. There's a heaviness, there's a sadness, there's an anger, a frustration about why it happens. And it's easy to try and shut that off so that you can get the work done. I mean, nobody wants to be an emotional basket case. Nobody wants to cry at every sad story they hear throughout their workday. And yet, we do need to connect to that sometime in some way, shape, or form. Not just sometime, but frequently. And so that's that community concern. Talk about, connect with, remember why you're doing what you're doing. For many of us, we've moved up into that leadership position. We don't see clients anymore. We don't, see the customer come in the building, or the office, or the store, or wherever it is that you're working. And so sometimes you need to get reconnected to that. I used to have this client that came in who was severely affected by fetal alcohol, although you wouldn't have known it to sort of see him, but he was sort of my highlight of my day, because whenever he came in, and he would be angry, and he'd be frustrated, and he'd fly off the handle, and he would go talk to his worker, and he'd get ticked off at his worker. So he was going to come talk to the boss because his worker wasn't listening, and I would sit and listen to him for a few minutes, and then I would walk him back to the office of his worker, and by that point he'd calm down, and him and his worker would just kind of chuckle because he knew the game as well. And he would do what he needed to do with his worker, go grocery shopping or pay bills or whatever it was. But it allowed me to reconnect with why I did what I did, what was important in what I do. And so I think we need to do that sometimes. That's that community concern. So think about, what's the positive contribution you're making to your community? What's the impact you're having on your community? What's the lasting legacy you're leaving on your community? That's community concern. That's a skill you need to look at as a leader. You need to figure out how to connect to that on a regular basis and use it to do your work. Second one, in terms of this broader skill of systems awareness, is sustainable productivity. So last week we talked about achieving results. The thing is, though, part of what I said was, are you achieving the right results in the right way for the right reason? Again, the right reason, the community you're serving, the meaning and purpose. But one of the things that we do in organizations, and as women leaders, is we tend to just plow forward and get her done. I will make it through this. Even if I'm only surviving, I will make it through accreditation. I'll make it through this proposal writing. I'll make it through this busy time period, this new program opening, this audit that we're going through. Whatever it is, I will make it through. But man, we burn ourselves out in the process, and we burn our team out in the process. Sustainable productivity is having high standards, but also having the resources and the tools and managing those resources and tools so that we can do this long term. And part of that is, look at that. Got to make sure that my Wi-Fi is turned off. That's probably half the reason why I was struggling with Wi-Fi. Maybe that's better now. Part of sustainable productivity, again, high standards, but not at the expense of your people. So you have to take care of your people. And so that means give them the training, give them the resources, give them the support they need, make sure they have the tools to do their job. And then ensuring that whole health and wellness of your team members, your individual team members, your team as a whole, focusing on the team morale. Part of that is looking at, breaking down that big achievable thing or target that you're trying to achieve into smaller ones, and then going, yay, we did it. We met today's goal. We met this week's target. We got to this next stage of the process, whatever it is. But, cheering people on, celebrating successes, and staying with that. We sometimes achieve things and we, quickly move on to the next thing. Give it the celebration it deserves, because we need to do those things to acknowledge that work that we've put in, builds team morale, and that's what's going to help us continue through the next difficult times and stressful times and challenging times, is knowing that we've got each other's backs, that we're there for each other, that we're cheering each other on. That's sustainable productivity. So high standards, the support to meet them, and celebration when you do. It is not unachievable high demands. It's not a limited vision. It's not inadequate resources. It is not low team morale. It is not trying to do more with less. That's one of the sort of cesspools that many of us get into, is, we'll just, cut, and so we're just going to expect you to do more with less. That is not sustainable productivity. That's killing yourself and your team. Sustainable productivity is not focusing on crisis management. It is not just surviving or producing at all costs. Sustainable productivity is a commitment to long-term projects and sustaining your ability to do that, and having the high standards, right? So it's not just, mediocre sloughing off and, yeah, sure, we can do that, no big deal, we're just kind of run-of-the-mill. No, this is about doing great work. This is about doing amazing work, but doing the things you need to do to support your team and yourself along the way. So community concern, what's the global community that you're impacting? Making sure you can sustain that productivity long-term. And then the third one is systems thinker. This is looking at not just your team or your organization or your staff group or your clients that you serve, but the bigger sort of group of things, all that are interconnected. So it's the whole system. I often think of, the spider web. How is everything connected? How is everything linked or intermixed with each other? So your program, your team, HR, IT, the funder, the clients, the stakeholders, the board, everything's all intermixed. And this is a systems thinker. A systems thinker looks at the whole perspective. Remember back to systems theory in school, if you took this. If you drop a pebble in the water, what happens? Ripple, 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 right? If you have a mobile hanging, think of the mobile hanging over the kid's crib, and you touch any one of those things, it affects everything else. So when you have this skill, this ability to think in a systems way, you're recognizing everything I do or everything everyone else does or everything every other program or part of our company does or the bigger community affects each other. You can't touch one thing without it touching everything else. And so we have to sort of step back and go, how is everything linked or connected? How is it interwoven? What's the impact that this change here will have on this, this, and this, and this? Sorry, I got to blow my nose again. Sorry, guys. I apologize, but I'm really trying to get over this cold. But it's frustrating. I hate having a stuffy nose. So systems thinking is not micromanaging. It's not focusing too narrowly. It's not acting defensively or protecting your turf, which we all have seen. It's not feeling the urge to solve problems quickly, and it's not making decisions based on blame. When we're doing those things, we are kind of narrow focused, only thinking about this tiny little problem in front of our face. When we're systems thinking, we're stepping back and going, how is this all intermixed? It's about analyzing. And often when we're problem solving, we're just fixing what's in front of our face, not seeing how what's here is affecting this over here. One of the biggest things that I remember when I was in my organization, and partly because I was heavily involved with some of the stuff that was going on, was changes we were doing in IT. So we were implementing a case management software, which means rather than writing good old contact notes, people were having to type them into a computer. Well, man, did that have a ripple effect, because A, we didn't have enough computers at sites, B, we didn't have the dollars to put computers at sites, C, people weren't even writing on site anyhow. We were traveling, hundreds of kilometers around our central office to go see clients. And so people were pulling over in the side of their car writing contact notes. People were sitting in coffee shops or, wherever writing contact notes. They weren't at their office on a computer. So the ripple effect was crazy. And so we had to look at how does that all intermix and how is all of that interconnected? And that's part of that systems thinker, right? Seeing that bigger picture liberates us from sort of getting defensive. When my staff would say, I can't do my contact notes on a computer, people would, in sort of the management or HR would say, oh, people should stop being, technophobias. That wasn't the issue. So they were getting defensive and they were putting up their barriers, but they didn't actually want to step back and see that bigger picture. And so that was part of my job, is to help them step back and go, okay, wait a minute, we're not just talking about the ability to use technology. It's a bigger problem than that. There's more going on than just technology. And so when we did that, things sort of changed. So that's what I want you to think about in terms of the skills you need to be a systems thinker, and sort of seeing how everything's intermixed and interwoven. So when you're looking at increasing your skills, your leadership skills of having systems awareness, think about the community that you're serving. What's the contribution I'm making to this community? Looking at the impact you're wanting to have, and can you sustain that long term, that sustainable productivity? And then systems thinker, how's everything interwoven? When you learn how to increase those skills, you are going to be way more effective as a lady leader. And you are going to just, skyrocket in terms of taking your team forward. You'll still be, making sure that the boat doesn't tip over, but you're going to be moving things forward. And I think that's the incredible difference that you want to make. So the guide sheet that I have for today, silverrivercoaching.com/guides, walks you through 6 questions that help you kind of look at these 3 skills and see how you're doing on them. See maybe where you can improve, or just awaken them, that systems thinking within you. So again, if you want to go over to silverrivercoaching.com/guides, you can get that. If you want to catch the live and the guides from last week's session on achieving results, go to silverrivercoaching.com/blog. You'll catch the blog, the video from Facebook Live sessions embedded into the blog, so you can watch it there. If you want to know more about my Women with Grit program, just go to womenwithgrit.com. You'll find out more about that and how I use this tool, the Leadership Circle, in that program to help you look at who are you as a leader? What's the impact you want to have on your community? What are the goals you're trying to reach? And what do you need to develop inside of you? How do you do that to move you and your team and your community forward? So that's womenwithgrit.com. Again, if this has been helpful information to you, share it, send it in a private message to a lady who maybe needs to hear it. Share it at a staff meeting if that is something you think is valuable for your team. But we don't have to do this alone, my dear. This is not something we should be fighting through and just trying to manage to survive our days. We should be doing this together. We should be supporting each other. That's what's going to help women move up, feel more comfortable in their role, feel more credible, confident, and go home at the end of the day feeling more relaxed and better able to enjoy their life. So if that's something you want, keep following along, keep doing some of this work so that you can be your best self and move from survival to thriving in both leadership and life. That's absolutely what I want for you. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you next week. Bye-bye.